control is an illusion. We are never really in control of anything. Things happen to us. No one in heaven starts to panic. They're not running around like, what do we do? What do we do? Hey everybody, it's Rossi. This past week, I met a young man and his story gutted me. I was devastated on his behalf. I found myself saying, how did he make it out of this situation? And he told the story of how he was attending the wedding of his sister. And as he was finalizing his best man duties, he got a call that his grandfather had passed. He's having this one celebration on the one hand, and then he gets this devastating news that his grandfather has passed. Before they could bury his grandfather, his grandmother passed. And after that, a sibling passed, and within 5 weeks, 5 family members had passed in his family. And I could not do anything but say, what happened next? Like, what did he do? And he tells a story of how it made him lose his faith for a while. And he was actually sharing his testimony about how he had come back and rededicated his life to God. But you can imagine in that situation where you're just like, what in the world is going on? So today I want to talk about the truths that we need to hold on to when our lives are out of control. We have 2 different responses to our situations being out of control. The first one is a lot of people have a pity party, right? And it's woe is me. And how could this be happening? And I just want to, sit here and cry about it. And then some people, this is a category I fall into, we try to take control of the situation as best we can. And I have to remind myself that control is an illusion. We are never really in control of anything. And when we do try to take control, we end up wearing ourselves out because we are in a position at that point that we were never created to be in. God is in control. We should be in the flow, and we should be being led by God, even in situations when it feels hopeless, it feels dark, and it feels dreary. We have to give up the idea that we are in control and let God have his place. So here's a life lesson that I learned. It's especially helpful in times where you are kind of over your skis and you don't know what to do. And life has lifed and everything has happened and the dog bit the cat and all the things are happening. I always say that everyone should have a chance to react, but your response should be biblical. So what does that mean? A reaction versus a response. We're human. So a lot of times our first reaction is going to be emotional. We are going to be angry. We're going to be bitter. We're going to be sad. We're going to be furious. We're going to want to retaliate sometimes. Those are normal human reactions. But the lesson is give yourself a chance to react, but respond based on the word. So what that looks like practically is, say, for instance, you lose your job. Your first reaction could be fear. It could be anger. It could be feeling abandoned. It could be hurt. But your response should be, my God will meet all my needs according to his riches and glory, right? What if you get a bad diagnosis from the doctor? Your reaction probably will be fear. It could be worry. It could be doubt. Your response should be, by his stripes, I'm healed. Your response should be, I am the Lord who heals thee. And so we can react because we're human. We want to try to be Christ-like in those moments, but it's just not always possible. Sometimes we're just reacting to the information we're given. I know as a mom, sometimes I want to react when my son does something that I don't like, or he says something and I'm like, wait a minute now. But in that reaction, I have to take a moment to pause and say, what is my response? And my response is, I'm still going to treat him with dignity. I'm still going to try to be Christ-like in my approach to parenting. We call it gentle parenting now. I wasn't raised that way, but so sometimes it's hard to practice gentle parenting, but that is my response, even though that's not how I initially want to react. When we are feeling out of control, when we feel like we have been abandoned, or there has been something done to us that was unjust, or something didn't go our way, or we lose a family member, in all of those different scenarios, What are the truths that we can hold on to? The first thing is that God holds the entire world together and nothing surprises him. Psalm 95 verse 4 says, "He holds in his hand the depths of the earth and the mightiest mountains." Verse 5, "The sea belongs to him, for he made it." Verse 7, "For he is our God. We are the people he watches over, the flock under his care." So that's the first thing. God holds all of this together. Nothing surprises him. Nobody, when things happen to us, no one in heaven starts to panic. They're not running around like, what do we do? What do we do? God knows he holds this whole thing together. Rest in that. Number 2, since God is in control, there is hope in the middle of tragedy, suffering, and injustice. All things will work together for our good. And of course, Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that God causes everything to work for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose." So it doesn't matter what it looks like. It's going to work or it's going to work. Those are the only options for believers. And I know people like to say that, well, it may go good and it may go bad. No, it's going to work or it's going to work. Change your vocabulary. It's going to work. All things are working together for your good in the middle of chaos, in the middle of everything around you falling apart. God promises that it's going to work for your good. Number 3, worry is pointless because God takes care of us. I was reading a book by Joyce Meyer called Power Thoughts. It's an old book, but it's a really good book. So if you haven't read that one, I recommend it. But in there, she says that worry is like rocking back and forth in a rocking chair. And she says it takes up time and it makes you feel like you're in motion, but it's not getting you anywhere. And so when you think about that, when you are spending time worrying, it is because you are trying to find a solution. And that is the opposite of what we should be doing, again, because we need to be fully relying and trusting on God, not trying to figure out everything ourselves. Sometimes we just need to fall back and rest in him and say, God, I give up. I give up trying to solve it. I give up trying to come up with a solution. And I'm just going to rest in you. Let you bring whatever you want to pass. Let you fight this battle. Let you heal this hurt. Let you fix this situation. And the cause of worry is very simple. It's just us failing to trust God. In Luke 12:25, it says, "Can all your worries add a single moment to your life?" Verse 30 says, "These things dominate the thoughts of unbelievers all over the world, but your Father already knows your needs." So again, worry is pointless because God will take care of us. Here's another truth to hold on to. God is intimately involved in our daily lives. Nothing escapes his notice. He never stops providing for us, protecting us, or caring for us. And we have all of those promises in his word. And sometimes it is easy for us to think that in the midst of chaos, somehow God has forgotten or somehow we've been abandoned. But there is scripture after scripture that promise that he won't leave us, he won't fail us, he won't forsake us. And he is there with us in the middle of the trials, in the middle of the hard times, in the middle of the tribulation, in the middle of the sickness. God is right there. We just have to believe him. And it is okay to feel the things that you feel, react, but your response should be, I trust you, God. Your response should be, the Lord will make a way. Your response should be, this is for my good. Your response should be, it is well. Finally, there is a blessing in not knowing. Sometimes we want to know everything. We want to know what's going to happen next. We want to know what's coming. Sometimes there's a blessing in not knowing what's around the corner. But what we do know is God is already there. That's been it. I hope this was a blessing to you. Trust in the Lord, even in the midst of chaos. Hold on to those truths. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment if this blessed you. And until the next time, you were meant to thrive.